They set it all up. Now there's one roster spot available. The Steelers have 89 guys because they signed Dylan Brooks, which, cool story, former college quarterback. So, I mean, when was the last time you saw a college quarterback turn into a left tackle and then make it into the NFL? Pretty impressive. He's cool. They signed, Manny Jones the other day, Hakeem Butler, Luke Barku. We'll talk about those guys in a second here. One roster spot available. It was supposed to be Quan Alexander. That's what everybody thought all week long. He was set to visit the team on, I believe, Monday morning. Never had, or it did happen. No contract yet. It's been dead silent ever since. Do you still look at this situation and go, Quan Alexander's going to be a Steeler? Or are you starting to think, man, maybe things just didn't work out and it's time to move on and there's something else up Omar Khan's sleeve?
Yeah, I mean, man, it's tough. Anytime a player leaves the facility without a contract, it's the odds just don't look good. It's usually a bad omen. We just don't really see.
Yeah, right.
We just don't really see guys, return to the team and end up making the deal. So I'm gonna say probably not, which kind of bums me out because I think that he would have been an intriguing ad, especially on the low. But I do want to know. I think that the Jets probably want him back, and I bet that he probably has an offer on the table, maybe just one that he's not fully comfortable to committing with, or maybe he was, trying to play the field a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. I don't know if it's going to be Quan, man, even though I do think that it would make some potential sense for that for sure.
Perfect inside linebacker for them. Like exactly what we've said should be an inside linebacker for the Steelers for 3 years now? How long me and you've been doing this? At least 2 years? For 2 years now, every single time we've talked inside linebacker, we've described Quan Alexander as the guy the Steelers should go get, and they just haven't. I mean, so you think that he would head back to, you think you'd go, I guess Aaron Rodgers, that changes everything. So I get that. Now I get that.
They've got some young guys too. They've got some young guys over there. They brought back Quincy Williams. They've still got CJ Mosley. He wasn't, as the season went on, he wasn't this he wasn't like a full-time player for them. So I think even though he played well in this, I thought he played a little bit better than I expected in the limited time that he, got. I do think that there was a potential for them to want him back in the very specific role that he had. We see it every year. Like they'll bring in a guy or two on a visit. You look at Bud Dupree, somebody saying that in the comments. You look at Dante Hightower, Drake Kirkpatrick. All these guys have had visits with the Steelers.
Those guys.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys have had visits with the Steelers in years past, a long time ago. And just, if they don't sign, they let them hit the door. It just typically doesn't happen. So
do you think that they stick with an inside linebacker? Like the first comment we had of the day is Reuben Foster, which,
oh man, dude, Reuben.
I'm not going to say no until it's a no, but do you think it's still an inside linebacker?
Well, if you went back and probably search some old tweets of mine, you would find some pro Reuben Foster propaganda. Man, you talk about guys that just so unbelievably talented, and just for what, I just, it's tough for me to reconcile with that somebody has that type of talent and can just throw it away. But man, Foster was such a good prospect. I have no idea I know he's been out the league for a couple of years now. I guess he's in the XFL now.
I was going to say he's still playing somewhere.
Yeah. I think I did see that he's playing in the XFL. I don't, full disclosure, I just don't watch the other leagues, and it's just not my preferred entertainment. I don't watch a lot of. It would probably surprise people how little live football that I actually consume, to be honest.
You're not a big college football guy. Like you watch the film.
Yeah, I watch so much football, but I don't ever watch it with sound and from the broadcast view. I watch so much all 22 that it's just, I watch football on Saturdays, like college football live. I like that. But I just, the other football leagues, I don't know. I can't get into it. It's just tough.
No, I'm not an XFL or USFL guy either. Once in a while,
I think it's great
the documentary.
that they're providing the opportunities.
Yeah, if I wake up on a Saturday morning and it's on, and fiance's still sleeping, I'll have a cup of coffee and watch some football. It's just because it's nice, but I don't turn them on. But I do agree. I think that they're awesome. So let's circle back. Do you think that it's remains an inside linebacker this last spot? You think it's outside linebacker has been tossed out there as well? I mean, those are really the only two positions that, if it was me, like those are the only two ones that I could see the Steelers still needing.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I do agree with you. I think that those two spots, could be potentially spots that they could look at. I mean, um, yeah, I mean, inside linebacker, like I think we said this a couple weeks ago, but I think there are guys at inside linebacker right now are okay. Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, I
think that
agree.
they're going to kill them. I think that, Holcomb he's a fine player. I was a little surprised at the length of his contract, but I think Landon Roberts, he can fill a very specific role, like as that thumper guy. They still got Mark Robinson that they're kind of trying to develop, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's definitely room for another guy, especially like another really good athlete like Quan Alexander, who can really still run at this point in his career. So yes, I also think that there's still a possibility that they could go get a veteran edge rusher. I was actually planning
So
on
this name just
writing
got
about the
tossed out
site.
here, actually.
Yep.
Jadeveon Clowney. Obviously, defensive end. I think he could play both, possibly. That ended in Cleveland a little rough. Not sure if the personality is what you're looking for in Pittsburgh, but I will say this, that it has been mentioned to me, not as reports. I don't want this to come off as a report. I said it in my to-go this morning. Do not want this to cut. This is not a report. This is simply conversations with other people within the NFL, and Jadeveon Clowney's name has been brought up as like there's a lot of people talking about maybe he'd end up in Pittsburgh. And this started in like early February, mid-February. Heard it a couple of times at the combine, and then heard it right up until the draft and thought it was over. And then I heard it again like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, ooh, okay. So there's talks, there's not a report. They have not been in conversations. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just saying that people outside of me think that it's a possibility, and Jess think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I would definitely take Clowney, like 100%. Like, would definitely like Clowney. It's just about the cost. Like, what are you going to pay for a guy like that? Like, Clowney's a guy who's always been, well compensated. If you look at his deals, they're typically, 1-year deals, and they usually, cost the team quite a bit. Like, I think I'm just looking at his over the cap page right now, but he's made $81 million over the course of his career, and he's been a good player.
Player.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because I think that Clowney is a good player. He's just probably it's tough to find a third edge rusher that's not going to play over 50% of the snaps.
Yep.
That's a good player, but like Clowney's too good for that role. And it's kind of like the same thing with like Melvin Ingram. Like they're like too good for that role. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of tough at this point in his career. Like there's other names like kind of available out there on the market. Justin Houston is somehow, I have no idea how, but he's somehow extremely productive. He had a really solid season with the Ravens last year. So he's a guy that's like still available. Just looking through the name, like Robert Quinn, he had a down year last year.
Yeah, getting old too.
Leonard Floyd, Frank Clark, like those guys are in that same boat as like Clowney, where they're probably too good to be like the third guy here,
Yep. Yeah, but okay. Yeah. I'm glad that you said here, because I was going to say, like, there's a lot of other teams that would utilize them for 50 to 60 snaps a game, like in Pittsburgh, you're getting 20 to 25 max.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's tough. And like the same thing we saw happen with like the Melvin Ingram situation, right? Like you have to be very transparent in your conversations about that stuff with your free agency, like additions, because you don't want them expecting something and then they come in, they get something else. It's like, well,
you don't want
happened?
Hostages. And then
I mean, so what happened?
Traded? Kansas City.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's tough. I think that they would welcome an addition at edge. A lot of people have, hit me up about Kyle Van Noy. That could potentially be an option. Kyle
Van Noy is the same thing though. Like,
yeah, but he can play. I think that there is a path to getting him on the field enough to where he might be satisfied, and the Steelers could potentially pay him a little bit of money and still
you're going to be asking him to do a lot.
Yeah, because he can play off ball. He can play off the edge. When I watched him play like in Miami and in New England, like how Flores and Belichick would use him is like, as a blitzer, they would do different stuff with him. So you can get value out of a player like that. A
Yes.
player that's, maybe just like edge specific, you got to be careful about not shooting, what to say, like out kicking your coverage. I just
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
there's only so much that you're going to be able to offer guys like that.
Yes. No, I agree. And I think that's the most difficult part right here is that the Steelers have spent the week seemingly creating cap space so that they can make one final like waza, and there's no place for the waza. We have no more splash left. The Steelers have made all the splash in the world. They're out of water. Like, and I just came up with that on the spot. So clipping that one, but it's tough to come up with because you look at it and like all offseason, I've heard that Mark Robinson is a guy that they want to develop into something. So you don't want to take too much away from him. Nick Herbig's obviously a name that they have high hopes for. So you don't want to take too much away from his opportunity, I should say. He doesn't have a guaranteed role, but you don't want to take anything away from his opportunity. Offense, pretty set. Defense, I mean, like there's just outside of slot corner. Like if it was me and you and we were sitting there and you go add somebody else, we'd both say go add a slot corner that's not named Chandon Sullivan, and they wouldn't do it. So I don't know.
See, I think in a like best case scenario, I think that is where I would personally go.
Yeah, that's 100% where everybody should. That's where it should be. Like like they have one remaining real hole, and it is a slot / nickel corner, but they in their heads, it's going to be a Duke Dawson, Chandon Sullivan competition, and maybe they add somebody eventually. I don't know.
There's a couple comments in here about the young guys. You don't need a vet. I don't necessarily know that you need one. I just think that they would welcome it.
Yes.
And then DeMarvin Leal. Here's the thing, like in terms of the young guys, like I'm all for letting like Nick Herbig and potentially maybe DeMarvin Leal if you want to use him as like a tweener out there. But the thing is Herbig going to be able to physically hold up on the edge against the run? Like if something happens, like I see some people mentioning like if TJ gets hurt, whatever, is he going to be able to hold up? Is he going to be able to hold up on the edge with historically short arms? I mean, I think he was a good run. He was a pretty solid run defender in college from what I saw on the tape. It's just there's not a lot of edge rushers that are built like him. So, and then as far as Leal, like we've mentioned this over and over and over, like he's a better edge. He's a better run defender out on the edge because like he can use his size to kind of control blockers a little bit better out there. He's not facing as many double teams. But like when he gets kicked inside, he's a better pass rusher. Like if you're playing edge and you can't consistently threaten the outside shoulder of the tackle, which Leal's just not explosive enough to consistently do that. That's why he's always been this like tweener who gets moved around. It's like he doesn't really have like a real home. So it's tough. I think that's it. Like I think that there are roles for those guys, and you could definitely develop those guys in the meantime. It's tough to go into a season, I think, with the guys that they've got behind,
TJ and Alex
Smith right now. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think training camp answers a lot of those things. You want to see what Nick has. You want to see what kind of development Leal made, if those two could work well together. I agree with that. I do. I think that's their biggest question right here.
You said Herbig for 10 snaps a game. Yeah, like if
those
10 snaps are rushing the passer, absolutely. That's 100%.
I think he gets 10 snaps a game though. You wouldn't put him out there you wouldn't let him develop in season for 10, 15 snaps?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Rushing the passer, absolutely. I think but I just think, in the event that something does happen to one of the first two guys, like they definitely don't have an edge rusher behind those two guys that I would feel comfortable going and playing like, and I know it's a realistic expectation, but like they don't have a guy behind Watt and Highsmith that you can say like, okay, go start a game. Like Leal's not, you're just going to be wasting snaps with him out there playing edge, and whoever's say it's Watt or Highsmith on the other side, like if he's playing edge rusher for 60, 70 snaps, like they're just going to slide the protection. They're going to send doubles, which they already see some of that, but like, you don't have to worry about him over there rushing the passer off the edge. And then with Herbig, like again, if he's going to be asked to go play like 80% of snaps, that's tough. I mean, like, is he going to be able to hold up out there as a run defender at 240 with those arms? I don't know. I mean, we're going to see that, and I'm 100% good too. Like with seeing how camp goes, with seeing how preseason goes. Give these guys a chance. It's tough. You know what I'm saying? I think
No,
that it's
I
just
agree.
difficult when you don't have like a backup that you can rely on. And I know the Steelers haven't had that in a long time. And hopefully one of these guys, fills that role.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's at the same time, it's tough to, because we just had this conversation. Like, it's tough to say, hey, you know, go sign somebody, tell them if somebody gets hurt, then you'll play a lot, but before that, you won't. You know what I mean? Like, it's the Steelers' philosophy of the role and how they utilize it makes it super difficult to game plan for injuries. Like, it's actually almost impossible.
And you can do these, like, you can have these conversations about specific positions on every single NFL team except maybe Philly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Philly's
every
just
NFL
like, here's
team,
7 million guys. You're all gonna play. You're all from Georgia. You're gonna have a great time. Like, yeah,
it's
no.
you can do these like song and dances. The only reason I like continually harp on like the edge rusher depth is just it's the most important position for the Steelers outside of quarterback. It just is. Like, it's so their entire defense is really like basically, founded on the principle that they're going to be able to get pressure off the edge. And that's why, to me, it's just a little bit problematic, but we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch, come training camp. I'm excited about seeing how some of the young guys develop for sure.